Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast for a review of Week 4 in the NFL in the 2024 season. I'm, as ever, your host, Andy Davis. With me today, I've got a returning guest, part of Across the Pond, a Seahawks fan. Back with us today is Daniel Faluyi. Dan, how are things? How are you?
I am well, my guy. It's been a while. I've missed you. You know what I mean? I feel a bit jealous because you're getting other people on the show, but not me. So I feel like there is a bit of you got to make up to me this episode. Show me some love. You know what I mean? Because I've missed you, my guy. So let's do this. I'm excited. NFL's back, obviously, as we know, and yeah, obviously, my Seahawks are doing all right. Maybe not stumbled a little bit, but overall, we're doing well.
Yeah, I think a lot better than my team's doing this season. Let's put it that way. And of course, I last saw you in London in person. Are you coming down? Obviously, they start this weekend, the London games. Are you going to be there for the games this year?
I should be there for the games in a capacity or two. Definitely, yeah. I love my supporters. I love my American fans. Obviously, I love obviously NFL, watching the games, being around amongst the people. It's always great fun as well. You get some tailgating as well. And need to start doing some more tailgating in the US. Actually, I'm excited. I've got some tickets for the Florida State game where they're gonna play Miami. So trying to go to that one as well. So yeah, trying to get amongst the crowds of football across into the US as well.
And you have to do Seattle at some point. It's as a someone who's been to all the stages. I think Seattle, if you has a top 5 stadium in the NFL, it's got everything.
Of course it is, mate. The 12-man stadium is what it is. You know what I mean? Everyone talks about the noise of like Kansas City. Screw Arrowhead. What Arrowhead ain't got nothing on us, okay? We are the original 12th man. There's a reason why there's no one that wears the number 12 jersey in Seattle history. So yeah, it's for the crowd because we are the best fans in the world.
I mean, Arrowhead was the loudest I experienced of any stadium, but I think Lumen Field was, like some stadiums I view as they have the atmosphere, but maybe not the best looking stadium. I think Arrowhead is probably one of them. It's maybe not the best one to look at, but atmosphere is incredible. But Seahawks has
it's okay. I mean, look, obviously they're champions, so obviously the atmosphere is going to be somewhat, but you got glory fans coming in and out. That's what it really is, and that's what it really boils down to. So that's how I put it. Okay.
Well, I will say Lumen Field had the settingness as well as the noise.
Okay.
It was an unbelievable experience. That was the first one I made of the second out of 30, but it was the first one I made on my 3-month trip, and it was a good place to start. And it didn't rain in Seattle, which is very, very rare. I hear.
To be fair, Seattle just reminds me of London in terms of weather, so I'm kind of used to it. You know what I mean? So, rain or shine, we get on with our days and we do what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So we're moving on to a review of Week 4. The Thursday night game did see the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants by 20 points to 15. And then moving on to Sunday, the New Orleans Saints narrowly lost to Atlanta Falcons by 26 points to 24. Both teams moving to 2-2. And the Chicago Bears go back to winning ways as they beat the Los Angeles Rams by 24 points to 18. But our first game in focus is a game that happened at Lambeau Field as the Green Bay Packers lost to the Minnesota Vikings by 31 points to 29. And the Vikings go 4-0. Now, Daniel, first of all, before we get into the game itself, did anyone expect the Vikings to go 4-0? Because I don't think anyone had them winning 4 games, let alone going 4-0.
I didn't think you know what? When you look at the records and you look at what their schedule is going to be, I thought the 49ers, they will stumble against the 49ers. I thought they would actually stumble against the 49ers. You got Sam Darnold coming in. Sam Darnold hasn't been what Sam Darnold we thought he was going to be. At the Jets, he had Adam Gase. When we were in, Adam Gase is not the one. And then he had, basically was Carolina. And both him and Baker struggled. So I don't know if Sam Darnold, what I'm starting to realize is I'm not sure if Sam Darnold is a good quarterback in the NFL. I'm still up for debate. But what it does show me is you put a semi-decent guy in the right system with the right coaches and some players around him, and he should perform. And what we're seeing right now is that because at the Jets, he had Adam Gase, and Adam Gase was just a sorry excuse for a coach. Sorry to say that. And then you have, the Panthers, which we've seen right now. They have struggled. They've sold pieces. They just don't seem to know what they're doing. It's almost like a jigsaw without any jigsaw pieces. And then now he's gone to the Vikings. He's got He's got weapons around him. He's got a talented running back. He's also got one of the best wide receivers in the game, if not the best wide receiver. And he's got a coach who can actually coach. We're starting to see it do well. Now, we'll go into the game, and the Vikings almost just did Vikings antics and almost tried to give that game up. I don't know what they were doing because they raced to a fantastic lead. And then it's almost like, you know what? Let's just put our feet down. Green Bay's had 2 interceptions. Jordan Love doesn't look great. He's struggling with his legs. He's struggling with his reading his reads. And let's just chill. And then all of a sudden, Green Bay comes back into it. I feel like people forget that Jordan Love is the answer. He is the truth for Green Bay. So you're starting to see them coming back into the game, the Vikings panicking. Obviously, they got over the line. I think it's going to be a good lesson in terms of complacency for the Vikings. You can't get complacent. Never get complacent with a lead unless you are going into the fourth quarter with a double-digit lead and you're not placing Patrick Mahomes. That's the only time that's the only time you can get complacent. But what the Vikings have been able to do, I hold my hand up. I didn't anticipate. I didn't see it. They are doing well. Sam Darnold's doing really well. And they look good. They look like a well-oiled machine. So it's looking really good. And defensively, Brian Flores is lights out. He's actually come up with great schemes, lights out. People forget he was a very good head coach at Miami, turned Miami around. Yes, they didn't win as many games as they should have, but he didn't necessarily have the quarterback he wanted. Look at it right now. So I think for me, Vikings are going to be a serious challenger for the NFC.
I said this many times on the podcast. Brian Flores did not have Tyreek Hill, did not have Terron Armstead, didn't have Jalen Ramsey or Bradley Chubb, and only had Phillips and Waddle for 1 year. And he had, only one win less than McDaniel's ever had as a Dolphin head coach. And we'll get on to him later on. But I think Flores, obviously, the two things didn't work out with him and they didn't get on. But at the same time, Tua's the game's developed, albeit I still think he's very limited, but he improved with Tyreek Hill there. So I do think I'd like to see what happened if Flores stayed and we did get Tyreek Hill. Now, I've never seen our defense be ever as good again than those 3 years we had with Flores as our head coach. I think there was a run we had at one point where I think it was something like 18 straight games with a defensive turnover or something like that. It was insane. And
the dude can coach.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that in a way, it's annoying that we've had Brian Flores as a head coach and Dan Campbell. Imagine if we had them two now. Campbell, your head coach, Flores is your DC. Just imagine what this team could do, because I do think, again, we'll go on to it later on, but I do think coaching has been a big part of the problem in recent weeks. And really,
before you go on, I will say this. I think Brian Flores worked for Miami at a time when they needed it the most. I think Mike McDaniel's come in and he's benefited with all the attacking weapons, and I think people forget that it's all flash but no substance, because it's all high numbers against teams that are terrible. You're putting 70 against the Broncos, all that stuff, but when it counts, it doesn't. At the end, towards the end of the season, it doesn't, and you can tell that it's a offense that people start to figure out towards the end of the season, an offense that can't really perform in winter. So there's just no point. Like, you can be all flashy and everything in the summer, but we all know the NFL is really a winter game. So if you can't put points up in the winter, it's pointless. And to go back to Dan Campbell, I just didn't think he was ready. I think for Dan Campbell's personality suits a blue-collar city, blue-collar team. It suits a Pittsburgh. It suits the Ravens. It suits the Lions. It doesn't suit Miami. For the characters and what Miami is, the people that own Miami, all that jazz, and the celebs, the name, it's not Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is meat, beer, let's just chill on the couch, let's go from there. Miami is all about, sorry to say, it's a bit of finesse, it's the fast cars, the loose women, whereas Dan Campbell isn't that. Dan Campbell is like, I'm gonna get my lumberjack, get my axe out, probably pull out my gun, go hunting, fishing, eat my meat, and go on. And that kind of attitude, that kind of persona suits a blue collar team like Detroit.
I can't really argue that. Really, can't really argue with that. Heading back to the game, though, I mean, the stat line is pretty impressive in favor of really, if you look at it, both quarterbacks. I mean, Jordan Love had 4 touchdowns, 389 yards in the air. Sam Darnold, again, had a tremendous game, 3 touchdowns, 275 yards. Aaron Jones had 93 rushing yards, did a Lambeau leap. And, But really, I think that what takeaway is, and I think we've done every week we've done a prediction episode where we predict the winners. I've not yet picked the Vikings to win a game, and if I'm honest, I do think this hype train is going to end soon. I've been saying it the last couple of weeks, and they keep proving me wrong, but I just don't see it lasting. I think, and really, what helped me fund that was this collapse they almost had, because if that game was going on for 5 more minutes of actual game clock time, I think the Packers would have tied it and maybe even won the game. It was a worrying second half display, but also to give them credit, they also got that position to sort of coast it as well. They got 28 points in the first half, 28-0 up. You got to give them credit where credit's due at the same time. And Sam Darnold again, it's his first time really with a good coach. Exactly what you're saying. O'Connell is the only really good coach he's had really ever in the NFL, and I think it would be an amazing story if they were to go 13-3, make the Super Bowl, or if they were to have a magical season like the Eagles back in 2017 season. I do think it would be amazing, not only because they've never won a Super Bowl before, but for Sam Darnold, a guy that I never really was high on, but going into the draft and going to college and all that kind of stuff, it would be an amazing redemption story, and it would be, I think, really a lesson to all NFL fans that, or even just young kids who want to be a pro player, is that never give up. You could have all these things go against you, and also he had a bit of luck along the way. Obviously, the McCarthy injury happened, and he could have easily only played the first 4 weeks and then dropped out. But yeah, he's playing at such a good level and probably is the MVP candidate right now, MVP favourite, I should say, albeit only 4 weeks in. But I was really impressed with just the overall balance of this team on offense. I think defense, we've talked about it, and I think the defense is pretty good if you take away that almost collapse they had. If you think about Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, they got Jordan Addison back now. They won their first 3 games without Jordan Addison as well. So getting him back as well, it's just, I think this team, is going to, do wonderful things. But I think also, I do think that, but I think at the same time, I can see it also. I can see this hype train ending. I really can. I don't.
In which game? Because they're playing the Jets next, my guy. I don't know which hype. I don't know the hype train that's going to end for, but they're playing the Jets, so that's not ending next week. I can promise you that.
No, I mean, I just think that I just don't. I don't know. I just don't see it lasting. I mean, then looking at the schedule, exactly what you said, they've played probably their hardest games already. I mean, you got the Jets and Lions next. The Rams, you would have thought of before the season would be a tough game. Probably not now. They've got the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Bears twice, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Packers,
Lions
and
that they're going to lose to.
Yeah.
It's the Lions. That's the only team I can see them beating them consistently. But my guy, next week they are not losing to the Jets. I can promise you that.
I don't know. You never know in the NFL, especially on a neutral venue. Of course, those who missed the social media post, but also the last episode, I will be going to all 3 games as part of the podcast. And also breaking news, we've now got events to the Vikings fan event on the Saturday. Also, 3 practice sessions along the week, 3 weeks. So we're doing the New York Jets on the first Friday, the Jaguars on the second Friday, and on the third Friday, we're doing the New England Patriots. So keep an eye out on all socials, as well as my TikTok, Andy Talks NFL, as well as maybe an article on the touchdown as part of it as well. So all of that coming up for next month. So that should be some good content there. But you never know. I think the Jets were really bad against the Broncos. They did lose 10-9 on the same time. But I don't think it ends there, but I think they could easily go maybe even 13-3, so 13-4, maybe 14-3. But I think you put them. I think come the playoff when everyone's fit and firing, you put them against the Niners, the Lions. I think even the Packers. I know the Packers lost them in the last weekend, but I do feel like it's all going well now, like it was for Miami actually last season. But I do still think come playoff time, can you trust Sam Darnold to throw a winning touchdown when the chips are down? Because so far it's been a lot of jumping out the gate early, getting early touchdowns, establishing a lead. I could be wrong here. Apart from maybe the Niners game, not seen any game this year where he's really grabbed the ball by the horns and gone out and won the game for them. So that's my only reservation, is that can Sam Darnold do it when it's sunny in week 4? And can he do it, when it really matters? come week 17, 18, come the playoffs. That's my only concern with him. But the Packers, on the other hand, I have to say, it's been two quite impressive losses. I think they played well against the Eagles in Brazil in week 1, and I think they did really well to come back and almost make it level against the Vikings just gone. So I think the Packers will be fine. Malik Willis, I think, was brilliant as a backup, and I think the Dolphins could have learned from that kind of backup situation. And I think he's been more than a capable backup, and I think really he's done enough for me to prove that he could be a starter somewhere again. But they got Jordan Love back now. Like I said before, they got a fantastic tandem in Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. It's a fantastic quartet, and I think this Packers team again. I don't think I've seen the team really in recent years with two impressive losses already this season as then they have. I think both of those games they could have won easily as well. So the Packers for me would be absolutely fine, even though they're 2-2. And yeah, the Vikings for me keep rolling.
Agreed. I think what Green Bay is, and I'll leave it on this, is Green Bay coaching is fantastic. The coaching at Green Bay right now is fantastic. To make Malik Willis do what he was able to do, to coach Jordan Love in the way they've been able to do with the young players they have, Green Bay is an example of what good coaching looks like. I mean, so is the Steelers as well, because they have no right to be doing what they're doing as well. But yeah, Green Bay is an example of good offensive coaching.
And yeah, the Matt LaFraud comments I made last season look pretty terrible right now. An aging comment I made because he's proved to me that, yeah, he is actually a really, really good coach. And it wasn't just because of Aaron Rodgers. Now, moving on to the other games that happened on Sunday. The Buccaneers beat the Eagles 33 points to 16. The Bengals got their first win of the season, beating the Panthers and former quarterback Andy Dalton by 34 points to 24. The Houston Texans made the Jags go 0-4, who are the last team to not win a game. They won by 24 points to 20. And the Commanders and Jaden Daniels keep rolling. They beat the Cardinals by 42 points to 14. And the 49ers won by 30 points to 13. And the Raiders beat the Browns by 20 points to 16. And the Chargers narrowly lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, who go 4-0. They lost 17 to 10. But our next game of focus on is Sunday Night Football, as the Baltimore Ravens beat the previously unbeaten Buffalo Bills by 35 points to 10 in an absolute clinic from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Now, in terms of the box score, you look at the actual stats, and Josh Allen had more passing yards than Lamar Jackson, but that is beside the point. That just shows the stats on everything, because Lamar Jackson had 2 touchdowns, whereas Josh Allen had 0 touchdowns. It was just, I think, the Ravens, they were 0-2. I had them losing to the Cowboys in our week 3 preview, going 0-3. But now they're 2-2, with the Steelers losing as well. Only one win behind them in the AFC North at the top. This Ravens team are back, and Derrick Henry had a monster game. Everyone knows my feelings on Derrick Henry. Absolutely love the guy. My favorite ever NFL player. 199 yards, 1 touchdown from 24 carries, as well as Lamar Jackson's 2 touchdowns, and 156 passing yards in the air. It was, for me, just a fantastic performance. And the Bills, they looked excellent in the first 3 weeks, but I think it was more, for me, not so much they're being bad, but more just being outplayed by a really good team who are my pick to win the Super Bowl prior to the season. They're every front, they're amazing, and they finally got that money back they needed. They looked really good, and I mean really good, because I was high on the Bills prior to this game. I think I had them winning this game as well in our predictions. The Ravens, for me, were just outstanding. And for me now, they've gone, for me, in just a matter of days, just one game, from being a team that probably isn't going to do enough to make the Super Bowl, to now they could be they could be the favourites easily in the AFC. This team.
Whoa! I need to stop you right there. Whoa, calm the heck down. Heck no. I say this again.
Really?
Heck no. What have you seen in the 4 weeks to make you think the Ravens could potentially be favourites for the Super Bowl? They have let leads scramble. Yes, they beat Dallas, but did you not see the capulation of them in the fourth quarter, basically in the second half? Like, okay, yes, they beat a Bills that was rolling, and I mean were rolling, but the Bills came off a win from the Jags. The Jags is 0-4. Just FYI on that. They let Houston come into the game and win and come back. So we also have to look at the manner of the opponents that the teams are facing. The Ravens have not looked good. Let's not lie. Now, I will give you the first game against the Chiefs. I'll give you that. They could have won that, or they could have not even won. They could have drawn that. But the Ravens are beating themselves up. Defensively, they don't look as strong as they are because obviously they've lost their defensive coordinator to Seattle. But also on top of that is, yes, Derrick Henry. They've now used a formula that works. Stop giving it to Lamar and give it to arguably the best running back outside of Saquon Barkley in the freaking league. Yes, but let's slow down. I need to see a bigger sample size before I can go and give you the whole praise of the Ravens, because what I've seen so far in the 4 games is Lamar does not look like, I don't want to say Lamar, the Ravens as a whole do not look like they are going to get to the AFC finals.
I'm going to say this, how many teams have won Super Bowls in week 4? It's a long season to go ahead. They're getting better each week. The Patriots and Chiefs, the torso of the years, haven't started strong when they've won Super Bowls. I think it's how you finish more than how you start. And I think really with the lack of preseason these starters have these days, they use almost, I think, the first 3 weeks as their preseason. So for me, they're 2-2. I said before, they're only 1 win off the top of the AFC North. The Bengals haven't been great either. And I just think that they're showing that they're getting better each week. Yes, they lost the league to the Raiders and they could have easily lost to the Cowboys. But
no, don't slow that down. Say that again. They lost to who? They lost to who? Say that again for the audience to hear, because I feel like you just sped through that like it was nothing. They lost to who?
The Raiders. But
thank you very much.
Who did
the
last
Raiders
year?
That Devontae Adams has now requested a trade from? Just FYI.
But who lost to the Raiders last year? The Chiefs. And what did they do? They won the whole bloody thing. So I do think
that's different. That's a division rival, and you know it. You know it. Division rivals is a different ball game. Division rivals, the logic goes out the window when it comes to that. We all know that. There is no reason for the Ravens to lose to the Raiders. To who? Gardner Minshew. Please, no.
I think give them 10 weeks or so. I think we'll see the real Ravens. I think that was just a sign that I think this Bills team is really good, but I don't think they'll go all the way. But even so, to beat them that badly, to beat them 35, to demolish them when they hadn't previously lost the game all year, I think it was really impressive. I think Derrick Henry looks almost back to his best. And I just think that, come the playoffs, and I would love to do a little wager on this, that the Ravens go further than the Chiefs, but I'm not the best at taking away money, so maybe not. But I do think we should have some sort of wager on this, because I feel that strongly that the Ravens could actually go and do better than the Chiefs. And and they
I will take you all day, every day. Bodine's meal on that. 100%. Let's put it down. The audience have heard that. I'm putting my gauntlet down. If that doesn't happen, you owe me a meal at Bodine's. I will take that. I will take that bet all day, every day.
Bodine's? I've never heard of that place. What is it?
Oh, it's a place that shows like American football in the UK, in London. They do like wings, pulled pork, burnt ends, all that jazz. It doesn't make a difference. The meal is on you. That's what I'm saying.
That is fine. We'll do a virtual.
If you haven't heard of Bodine's, we can go to Sushi Samba. So.
I love sushi as well. So we'll do a little virtual handshake.
Okay.
That we have agreed. So
okay.
I mean, do I bet against the Chiefs? I think against your peril, but I think the Ravens will do. I'm going to stick my neck on the line here. So.
My bet is the Ravens will not make the AFC Championship. That's my bet.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know who will, but the Ravens will not make the AFC Championship.
I think it'll be Ravens Chiefs again. Whether I think they'll meet the playoffs regardless. It could be a seeding thing, so they play in the divisional round. But I still think I'm going to stick with my prediction. Start of the season, I think it will be a Ravens Chiefs AFC Championship. But yeah, that place sounds amazing. I have to go there anyway, let alone for a bet. That sounds amazing. I love pulled pork, ribs. I love all that kind of food. So for me, that sounds good. But I love sushi as well. So that's
Yeah, sushi samba is expensive. Let's just stick to Bodine's.
Okay, well, let's move on. Actually, before we do that, the Bills, should we be concerned, or is it just one of those games where you feel like every team has their off day, or is there
Would I be concerned? No, I think it was just one of those where you came against the man, the myth, the legend, the beast that is Derrick Henry. There's nothing else you can do about it. You just have to hold up your hands and say there are certain people in the NFL when they get going, you can't stop them no matter what. And we know Derrick Henry is one of them. Derrick Henry single-handedly got Tennessee to the playoffs, so we know what Derrick Henry is like. We know what he's about. We know what he is. So yeah, you give Derrick Henry you give him an inch and he will take a mile. And so I'm not worried about the Bills. It's just you came up against a juggernaut and a performance on Derrick Henry. That's really it. There are a few players. It's like saying, when what's his name? The Rams defensive lineman before Aaron Donald. There are times when you just like, look, no matter what you do, you're not stopping this man. So just accept it, go down, move on. There are certain people in the NFL you just know on their day you can't stop them. Derrick Henry is one of them. There are a few people like that, and Derrick Henry is one of them. So we just have to move on.
And also for Bills, I think the way it's gone so far with how poor the Dolphins and Patriots have looked, and also the Jets have been a bit inconsistent, I think they could easily struggle and still win that AFC East. I think that it seems now like quite an easy division to win. I think the Jets will probably be second. They'll run the closest, but I do feel like the Bills could easily just steamroll to the division without really trying. Moving on to, speaking of Dolphins, moving on to the double header on Monday Night Football. Now, for those of you that heard this episode of the previous episode with the Week 4 preview, where me and Greg previewed all the games, including Titans Dolphins, I would have said on the podcast that my plan was to avoid the score the entire day and watch it when I get home after work on basically as of 3 hours ago on this time of recording. I lost my battle with the cookies on my work browser, so all day, I was trying so hard to avoid the result. I literally press new tab on my work computer. What pops up? The NFL scores. I think that's obviously based on me probably looking at NFL stuff when I should be in work, doing work stuff. But it came back to bite me because I found out the score within minutes of being in work, and therefore I found out the score. So I still watched it. So I think it's some sort of insanity to watch your team lose that badly when you already know the score. Watching the whole game as well, not just game in 40. So yeah, that was extremely underwhelming. Definitely not worth avoiding the score in really at all. It was, I think the first quarter was fine, 0-0 after the first quarter, it was fine. And really, you look at the end of the first half, really, only 6 points down, you think that's absolutely fine, you can get back in the game. But if I'm honest, there was never any point in that game where I was thinking we're going to win this game. Absolutely not. Huntley, I think, did better than maybe Boyle and Thompson did, but at the same time, didn't do enough for me to prove that he can be anywhere near a capable two replacement. And there were some worrying moments. There was a Tyreek Hill where he dropped the ball and seemingly just gave up, and that allowed I think Arden Key it was for the Titans to pick up the ball and cause a turnover where he could have just run out of bounds when we were in pretty good position, because that part of that drive early in the drive, you saw. And then the team moved down pretty well down the field. There was a few good plays in the drive which got us down to that dangerous position. But then that happened, and then ever since then the offense has looked entirely stale. And it just has been the story of really the last, ever since Tua went down. And if I'm honest as well, it was happening even when Tua was there. And I think that goes back to what I was saying previously about McDaniel. It's the coaching. I mean, how you don't get a touchdown from the first quarter in week 2 to the final quarter in week 4 with Hill, Waddle, A-Chain, it's beyond me. It really is. And I know you've had the quarterback situation, but let's face it, Tua was terrible before the injury. First week in Jags, he was lucky he got the win because he was basically bailed out by Javon Holland, sort of punched fumble. And then literally the next play, Tyreek Hill turned a 30-yard pass into a 60-yard touchdown, whatever it was. And the game against the Bills, he was diabolical. He was terrible. Everyone forgets this. Everyone talks about the injuries, but let's not forget, he was terrible, awful, probably his worst career game before the injury. Absolutely awful. And whilst I'm not his biggest fan, you can see the difference when you got other players in, like Thompson, like Huntley, But at the same time as well, the Titans lost Levis, an average quarterback, put in an average quarterback, and they still scored 20, 30 odd points. So they proved that you can still win games with backups. We don't even look like scoring at all with a backup. So I think, again, it goes down to the front office not getting capable backups, not getting enough depth. But the coaching as well needs a long look in, because there's times where you lose your quarterback, you hardly run the ball when that's still a big strength field with A-Chain there, Jeff Wilson in the backfield as a backup, or Jalen Wright, and you barely run the ball then. And then there's been plenty of plays where we run the ball on 3rd and 11, or we go for 4th down in our own half and they just don't get it. It's just, there's been a lot of questionable coaching from McDaniel, and I think last night, I think it was worse against the Seahawks and the Bills, but it still wasn't great. I mean, and to lose Jalen Hurts as well, it was just another sort of episode in the sort of the disaster it's been really since week 1. It's just, you've got the Patriots next. I don't even see us winning that. I can see us going 1-4. It's Patriots aren't great, and they could beat us easily in that game, I think. So it is worrying times. I thought Hill was poor. I see him, mouthing off, having to go people, but you fumbled the ball, mate. You fumbled the ball, so you've got to take some blame as well. Waddle was okay. He had a really good account himself in the game, but that's really it. Because the defense didn't do much. The defense, I think, at times did well against the Seahawks week before, as you're probably aware, Daniel. But I thought this game, the defense was. But then again, it was only, it was 5 field goals, only 2 touchdowns. One of them was in garbage time. But even so, I know you probably watched the other game more than this one. But yeah, what's your
Of course I did. I mean, no one in America cared about this game. The Dolphins have been terrible. Let me reiterate this. No one in the world, not just America, no one in the world, no one even in Miami cared about that game. So let's just put it that way. Will Levis is terrible. He's shocking. He can't read defenses. He can't even read the plays. It's actually quite bad. I think Malik Willis is better. I didn't understand when they drafted him after they drafted Malik Willis the year before. So I didn't really get that. Miami, look, I've already said it before. I think Mike McDaniels was all sizzle, no punch, all sizzle, no substance. I think he was flattened to deceive. I think he's one of those where it's like, a lot of makeup, but once you take away the makeup, it's a different face. And you see that from the playoffs last year, the way they end the season. Yes, Tua always gets injured, but you still mitigate for that. Your run game should still be your run game. Your run game is whack towards that end of the season. And so you're now seeing, okay, without Tua, which I don't even think Tua is the answer, but without Tua, who's a good quarterback, who's an accurate quarterback, I'll say this, accurate quarterback. What? You're telling me you've got the fastest man in the league in Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle, who's a certified number 1 on his own right. You've got a running game that's supposed to be that good, and you're telling me you can't put points on the board without Tua. Like, what? Like, Joe Flacco came in and did okay for the Colts against the number 1 defense in Pittsburgh. And you're telling me you can't do anything against Tennessee, who no one is batting an eye about, because no one cares about Tennessee this season, because we don't think Tennessee are going to win the league. We don't think Tennessee are that bad that you're going to watch them, not car crash. So what are we talking about? They're a middle-of-the-road team, and you can't put points up against them. They've looked abject. There's a stat now. Through the first 4 games, the Dolphins have never led. The last team to do that?
Oh, God, probably something like the Browns in 2017 or 16, whenever it was.
Yes. There's 4 teams to do this before. The Browns, the Chiefs, when we go to the other team. But let's say about the Browns. So the Browns. So any record that you tie with the Browns, no offense to the Browns fans, but let's be real, your team sucks. Like, your team's a non-factor in anything. Like, that is a problem. That in itself is a problem. And so Miami fans, I hate to tell you, but Mike McDaniel's not the one. Not everyone from the coaching tree of Kyle Shanahan is a good coach. And unfortunately, Mike McDaniels is showing, because without a star quarterback, name what Tomlin did without a star quarterback.
He got to the playoffs.
He got to the playoffs. He won. Can you remember that Steelers won their first 2 games without scoring a touchdown?
Yeah,
Just emphasize the first two games they won their first two games without scoring a touchdown, and yet Miami have not even arguably, without a shadow of doubt, have better offensive weapons than Steelers. And you're telling me you can't win or get competent enough to get closer to winning with that team? You're a bad coach. Not bad coach, but you're not the coach. You're not the one.
And also, you look at the Giants Commanders game. Commanders scored 0 touchdowns, let in 3, and still won the game, albeit field goals, granted. But even so, you're getting down in that position on the field to get the field goal in the first place. We were at times nowhere near the red zone in field goal position. It was, I think, people like to bring on the offensive line, the quarterback situation, but the offensive line hasn't even been that bad. It's been, I think, it's ranked as something like 10th or 11th this season or something like that by PFF. You think about, again, Burrow made a Super Bowl with the most sacks in playoff history. He still made the Super Bowl. He still won games. He still beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. You think about all these excuses we're making about, Tua's not there, but literally the Titans had a backup quarterback and beat us quite considerably in this game. The Packers, Malik Willis was seen as a bust, seen as he got traded for a 6th or 7th round, whatever it was. He looked lights out in place of Jordan Love. There's many examples of this happening. Ryan Tannehill, backup, he comes into place. Marcus Mariota for the Titans. He goes out and wins comeback player of the year. Every league, every team has problems, and you got to deal with it. And it comes down to Chris Greer as well. You've got to get better backups. Granted, I think we could do a lot better than Tyler Huntley, or Skylar Thompson. But I think this comes down to we've poured all our eggs in a basket, which can't really be relied on in his health. 4th concussion in 3 years, and
I said it when you guys paid him. I said that you're going to regret it. I said it straight. You're going to regret it. You should not be paying that much money to Tua, who has questionable health, and he's now not coming back until week 8 earliest, and I don't even think he should come back. Don't mess around with your brain. There's many things you can. And for me, I'm a big. This is just me as my philosophy. There are certain things you don't mess around with. Your brain is one of them. Is why I will never touch drugs. I know it's PSA warning, kids, don't do drugs. But I will never do it. I just don't want to affect or touch the chemical makeup of my brain or the physical makeup of my brain. Therefore, once I've got that 1, 2, 3 concussions, it's too many. I got to look after myself, be around and be present and remember things that are happening in my life with my family. Tua's got kids. NFL's great. You've already made enough money. Like, let's not act like the money he's made isn't life-changing money. He's a multimillionaire. What more? He's a multimillionaire in Florida with no state tax. Like, let's chill. Like, I know people are like, oh yeah, no, you can still, like, guys. He signed money. He's got $50 million in the bank guaranteed. What more do you want from him? Like, just go. Literally walk away from the sport. You've made enough money to look after your family and future generations for life. As long as you make the right investment, you are good. What are you playing for now? Man, no offense, Andy, but Miami ain't win the Super Bowl this year. So save your health and just go home.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well with the news that came out this week about Brett Favre having Parkinson's disease, I think that should be a warning in itself. I mean, in a in a sport that is so dangerous, and while it probably was more brutal on Brett Favre's day, but even so, I think to have 4 concussions in 3 years, I think for me, and the whole thing about the danger money and all that, if you could not get paid, and the whole thing with Dak Prescott, doesn't get his new contract, you get injured, you could lose your money. But Tua, as you said, Tua's got his money, he's got his guaranteed money, he's got that second contract. Why stay and prolong it? And I think you've got the record of being the passing yards leader. You've got that on your resume. You've won a national championship for Alabama. You've had some good memories already. It's not as if he's done nothing in the NFL or college level. So I think I personally I'd be in support of it. Firstly, I don't think he's that good, but I think secondly, for his health, I think it's more than enough of a reason to give it up. And I think it's I do worry about him in 30 years' time. I really do, and I do worry about the state of his brain come 2050, 2060, and hopefully he's not affected too much, but I do worry that he is. Now for a podcast first. In the 4 years we've done it, I've never ever reviewed a game without watching it. This is happening with our next game, which is going to be the Seahawks against the Lions, where the Lions did come out victorious by 42 points to 29. Now, everything I mentioned just then about avoiding the Dolphins score meant I only watched the Dolphins game about 5:30 in the evening tonight. So I've not yet got around to actually watching the Seahawks-Lions game yet, apart from the highlights they showed during the coverage. Daniel, I'm assuming you did watch the Seahawks-Lions game. Obviously, I've seen the score. I've seen the box score. Geno Smith getting almost 400 yards. I saw Jared Goff's receiving touchdown. Your take on the Seahawks' performance and the game overall?
Seattle just didn't come to play. There was the DK Metcalf interception, which was fair enough. There is a little, video clip of Kenneth Walker trying to not be taken down, which looks really good and really sick. But overall, the Lions just did well. I think defensively, we just didn't scheme well for them. The fact that Amon St. Brown was able to score a touchdown or, throw a touchdown just shows, basically effectively the Philly special or the Detroit mix. More so than anything else. I think Seattle it was an off day for Seattle. I think we've played really well. We've done really well so far. But I think it's been catching up with us because you look at what we had against the Patriots, we weren't that good and we went to overtime. And I really thought after that, the Patriots might actually have something. Obviously, they've not really done well in the last two games after. But I think with the Seattle, we did dominate time possession. We just couldn't execute. When you look at the Lions, were just more clinical. They got the ball, they scored on their possessions when they did, and they were just more clinical. But when you actually look at the box score, forget box score. When you look at the game, we just went clinical. We just couldn't execute. We couldn't nail. We couldn't get over the line. We just were struggling. Geno didn't have the greatest of games. And when it came to all of that, it was just the Lions they just came to play and they just did really, really well. So on a given Sunday, we could have probably done better in terms of maybe another team, but the Lions were just there. And look, I rate the Lions. The Lions were a different team to what they were before. So I think you're looking at a good team, but we just couldn't execute, and the turnovers killed us. Really, truly, the turnovers did kill us, and the Lions just did what they needed to do. They got the balls when they needed to. They got the touchdowns when they needed to, and it just worked from them.
Yeah, I think the Lions again, a bit like the Ravens, a slow start. They're now 2-2. Obviously they're 2 games behind the Vikings and 1 game behind the Packers, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. They'll make the playoffs. I think for me, it would take an awful lot to see them not in the playoffs. It'd be an awful shock. I think it would take an injury bug. It would take just the other teams having more wins and just being unlucky that they could have 11 wins and not make it. I think that's the only way we'd really see them not making the playoffs, is that one of those 2 reasons. So for me, the Lions, well, I will be watching the game tomorrow at some point on my commute to work. But other than that, it's from what I saw from the highlights that they were showing, it just seemed like the Lions are just back to being that clinical self, that efficient self, and everything that we've seen of the Lions the last 18 months or so. So for me, I think the Seahawks, if you told yourself or other Seahawks fans come prior to week 1 that you start the season 3-1, you're taken out in a heartbeat. I don't think anyone really had you finishing 3-1. I think maybe a 2-2 was seen, or maybe 1-3, or maybe I think 2-2 was probably the ceiling everyone thought it was. Maybe not 3-1. So I think you can't really fault it. You demolished us in week 3, and you won those first 2 games as well. So I think overall you got to be happy with how the season started for you. We know you lost in the game just gone, but overall you can't be too dissatisfied with the start.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I didn't anticipate it. Well, we're sitting on top of our division, which is really good. I thought the 49ers would do better than they have, which has been good. I think the Rams have been terrible for what McVay is. They haven't really. I can't say they've not impressed since the Super Bowl. They've done all right last season. They did get to the playoffs, but they just haven't been the dominant team offensively than I thought they would be. But they have got injuries right now. Puka's still out, so I'll give them that. Arizona's a mixed bag because I didn't like what Kyler said when it came to, it's not my job to find your freaking number 1 receiver. I don't understand that. I don't understand that logic. I can't imagine Tom Brady saying, it's not my job to find Gronk. What? Yes, it is. That is what you're paid for. That is your job. So when I'm just like, Kyler, you really don't get it. Like, I can understand why there is a lot of like animosity towards you in Arizona. Like, you really don't get it. You had to have the clause of no video games and film study in your contract. You're now saying it's not my job to find my number one freaking receiver. I was like, you like, what are we doing? Like, really and truly, what are we doing? Like, I get it. You don't love football, and that's fine. You don't need to love football, but be sensible of what you're saying outside, because it just doesn't make sense. That logic does not make sense. So I don't see Arizona doing much this season. So I think look, the division is Seattle's to lose right now. I don't say that lightly, and I'm not saying that like as an overconfident fan, but it really is. Seattle started the strongest of all the teams, defensively, offensively. They look the part. I don't think they will. You know what? I think Seattle could be a dark horse for the NFC Championship game, but I think the Lions are going to make the NFC Championship game again. I can't see them not. And it's going to be very interesting to see what them and the Vikings do in terms of that game and those matchups. But Seattle should get to the playoffs, and I think they should win the division. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make the NFC Championship game.
Interesting. And we are going to start doing soon early predictions for Super Bowl matchups. I did say prior to week 4 starting, I did say on the TikTok video on Andy Talks NFL, I'd had my early prediction is now going to be the Chiefs against the Packers. But I'm going to go back to my old prediction of what I said pre-season is Ravens Packers. I'm going to stick with that. Daniel, what is your way early Super Bowl matchup prediction?
I feel like I was drunk because I thought I heard you say Ravens Packers, so I must be waved. I know it's a Tuesday night work night. It's a school night, but I must be drunk because what I heard could not come up from a sober man's mouth. What? Ravens versus?
I'm sticking to it. Ravens Packers is going to be in New Orleans in February. The silence is all you need to know.
Okay. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, that's all I can say. I think the team I reckon to come up the NFC will be the Lions. Chiefs are the Chiefs until I see them. I mean, the Chiefs also have the rest in their pockets, by the way. The way some of these calls have been going. So for now, from what I've seen, I'll say it will be Kansas versus the Lions. And if that's the case, I think the Lions will destroy Kansas City. But
interesting. I mean, they beat in week 1 last season. I think it was the most, you think about every year, you think like the neutrals watching Super Bowls, you have sort of, it mostly goes in one team's favour, but I don't think we'll see ever a more one-sided neutral support than the Lions, because not only the Lions, everyone's favourite second team, everyone loves Dan Campbell, everyone loves the fact that Troy haven't won a Super Bowl before. Put them up against a Chiefs team that's already won 2 in a row. Everyone hates a team that wins all the time. Everyone hates a dynasty. And the Swifty thing, some people will get riled up by that. So I think it would be, I guarantee if there was a neutral sort of vote on who you want to win the Super Bowl between the Lions and the Chiefs, I reckon you're looking at 98% would vote Lions. Obviously, you take away the Packers fans, the Vikings fans, and the Bears fans. I think you move them. I think it's pretty much all in favour of the Lions. I really do think that would be everyone would want that. Everyone would want the Lions winning it. I don't think anyone that isn't a Chiefs fan, that isn't a Packers, Vikings, or Bears fan wouldn't want the Lions to win it. I really believe that. So, yeah, I'd be on board with that, absolutely. And I'd be on board, really, with Texans against Lions, because you have 2 teams that haven't won it before. So, for me, that would be, an unbelievable, Super Bowl for everyone to enjoy. But that is where we will end our week 4 review with myself, Andy, your host and guest today, Daniel Faluyi. Daniel, thank you for coming on.
It's a pleasure, my guy. Don't leave it too late to bring me on again. Love being on your show. So
absolutely.
Thanks very much.
I apologise for my sins. I will get you back on, I'm sure, way before last time was. So, we will get you on, I'm sure, throughout the season as the Seahawks keep rolling, and we will look to bring you on. Certainly, I'll look to speak to you in person at the London games. I'll look to meet up with you there. That'll be a good few weeks. And, we'll get you on, I'm sure, soon enough.
Perfect. We'll look forward to it. And hopefully I'll see you at the games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll make it happen. But this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, our week 4 review. Myself, Annie David, Daniel Faluyi, and I'll see you guys next time.